is another thing about Qigong and the whole teachings of everything that's happening here. This is all integrated into a really epic health science, which we call it, a health beyond danger, right? Where you develop a health that's beyond danger, where you are outside of colds, flus, coughs, fevers, stagnant energy. And that's really what we're working on here, right? We're working on creating a health that's beyond danger.
I'm here in Noni land with my good friend David Avocado Wolfe.
All right.
Yeah, it's been, this was an epic last minute trip that actually Shervin had said, hey man, we're going to Kauai on Friday, why don't you guys come? And this was late Wednesday night. And we thought about it. Priest and I talked about it. I said, yeah, let's go. And then Priest was looking at the flights and stuff. And she's like, no, let's go like in a couple weeks. I'm like, no, the time is now. Let's do it now. And so we booked the tickets and here we are.
Well, it has been an awesome visit with you guys. We have gotten as much time to squeeze out of this spot as we can. I mean, we have been out in the yard. We've been out hunting fruits. We've been out on the beaches. We've been out just perusing the land. We went up to the Hindu temple yesterday.
That was epic.
That was epic.
The Hindu temple.
And the banyan tree. We were. That was only like a 100-year-old banyan tree, but that thing was profound.
Profound.
So
heard about, especially if you live in Cali, about tree huggers. We were definitely the tree huggers yesterday. So sending an intention of things that we wanted to release and let go of. And you would find a tree. There's like hundreds of trees in this forest, right? This banyan forest, right?
That was the rudraksha.
Oh, the rudraksha.
So the banyan, if you guys know the banyan, it's a type of fig, and it's like a grappler fig. Like it can grow around other things, and it drops roots down. So that's where all those amazing roots were dropping down. Remember that?
Yes. And the banyan trees.
And then after that, we went to the rudraksha forest, which is the largest rudraksha forest outside of Asia, actually. Wow. Over here. Those rudrakshas grow all the way from India all the way into Australia, actually. In Australia, they call them the quandong fruit.
Quandong fruit.
Yep. And in Australia, it's red, actually. It's not blue. The ones we have here are blue. The ones that come from India are blue. And rudrakshas are the sacred malas that the Hindus wear.
Yeah. Yeah, those are those. I wish you had the little seed on you.
I have one.
Oh, she has one in her pocket. Yeah, lucky you didn't sit on that. Well, maybe you could bring that up close to the camera because no one can see it from where I'm at. So you guys have seen these. Yeah. So we definitely were hugging trees yesterday, but yeah, it's been an epic trip. The work on the land here, I love that stuff.
Yeah, it was great. So I basically recruited Chris into doing the work we had to do on the land. So we did a little bit of fencing, and we basically went from one corner of the land all the way to the other, picking fruits, dealing with weeds, and chopping things back, chopping and dropping. It was the best ever.
It was the best ever.
Yeah, truly.
I'm just going to go to the comment real quick because Alex here, she says, I can't wait for this session. I'm on the road to Portland for my son's surgery. Day 1 of water fast. She's in your friends request.
Okay, yeah, so you're doing the water fast too. So me too. So today's day 1. It's time to get going. And day 1 is typically the hardest day. Once you get to day 2, day 3, the momentum builds up. But really after day 3 or 4 on a water fast, you're in ketosis. So you start burning off your fat, which is really a nice moment.
So talk a little bit about how to mentally get through that hunger pains. And
the best thing to do when you have a hunger pang or when you feel like your mind is playing tricks on you is get completely horizontal and sleep. That's the best thing to do. You have to get horizontal and sleep. Now, if you're able to do that, then you don't need to push because basically, see, the food we're using as a stimulant, right? And so people start getting that late afternoon tiredness and they use the food as a stimulant to get up. If you just rest instead, it's much healthier than a stimulant, and in 20 minutes, you'll be back brand new. It's amazing. So it's a really good trick. It's very important. So today is my day of rest. It's basically when you come off of food, it's like coming off of drugs. And that's really what it is, right? All day long, we're eating this, eating that. It's like drugs. And as soon as you fast, you're coming off of drugs. And so your body says, hey, lay down. And you got to just go, you know what? I got to lay down. And it is amazing the healing that will happen in those moments. That's where the real healing happens, right? I think most people have figured out that the healing's happening when you're sleeping, right? Because the mind, if the mind's on, forget it, Yeah. All these worries and this, stuff that comes in just totally screws up the healing potential. But as soon as you sleep, it's on.
Yeah.
And because your head's out of the way. And this is the great thing about fasting is your body will just say okay, lay down. And you go, okay, I'll lay down. And you get the best rests. Like just now, like I was just resting on the couch right there, just 10 minutes before this call. Man, that was good. Oh,
felt good.
I kind of think of sleep like the oven to bread. right? It like bakes and cooks the body. But also Denise is on a day 3 of her fast, so that's awesome.
All right, she's already ahead. That's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the best. It's best to be 3 or 4 days in.
Wow.
Once you get 3 or 4 days in, then it's relatively easy. Once you get like a week, 10 days, it's relatively easy at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then talk a little bit about, yesterday we were talking about emotional detox. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that we went to the Hindu temple. We sat there, we meditated for a little bit, and then came out, and then one of the gentlemen there, that he started talking to us about how we hold a canister right here. And this canister.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember that conversation?
Yeah, that was a really good conversation.
Yeah, he was talking about how in Hinduism they talk about that, okay, we have these things that happen and or occur in our life and affect this canister, and what we do is we put this lid on it, and then we hold on to this resentment and this old anger, these hurts. And the whole idea is being able to let go of these hurts and old anger and be able to process it and not to carry it around with you, because it affects your life. And so the whole idea that he was saying that I really identified with is not becoming reactive. He says if you're reactive, there's obviously something within yourself that's causing you to react. So if somebody says something or does something that triggers you and you get all frustrated, or you yell, or kick the dog. No, I'm just kidding. Or some people do. He's showing us that, hey, there's something inside of ourselves that is causing us to react to it. So the whole idea is being able to work through and process this type of stuff. And so sitting in the silent meditation yesterday was amazing. It's such a spiritual, magical place. And those trees were epic, off the hook as well too.
Yeah, that's the thing about being in the tropics. You're in the land of trees, So we've been running this fireplace right here. We've been burning a lot of cacao wood, which has been very interesting, and coconuts. And the other day I was out, so I've been realizing with burning a fire in the house that really coconuts is where it's at in the tropics. For something that's going to last a long time, the wood burns very quickly here. Even the cacao wood, which I was hopeful would last longer, but it doesn't really. But I went down to pick up a coconut to bring it up here to burn it, and had a reishi mushroom growing out of it.
Oh yeah.
And so this is another thing about Qigong and the whole teachings of everything that's happening here. This is all integrated into a really epic health science, which we call it, a health beyond danger, right? Where you develop a health that's beyond danger, where you are outside of colds, flus, coughs, fevers, stagnant energy. And that's really what we're working on here, right? We're working on creating a health that's beyond danger. And that's integrated into an herbalism or a natural medicine.
Nature as medicine.
And really that best teaching of that is what we call Daoist tonic herbalism, which is the beginning of all Chinese medicine. So basically what we're doing here is like every day, you're going to have your chaga tea and your reishi. Like I threw that reishi right into the tea. It's also vanilla is in there, and there's other things like that, the local herbs. So you're constantly fortifying your body with the resilient elements that are in the plants, right? The plants aren't getting eaten alive by every bug and insect. How are they fighting back? They're fighting back by building up certain alkaloids. And those alkaloids, when you ingest them through tea, through herbalism, maybe you're taking them as powders, maybe you're taking them as capsules, maybe it's tinctures, then it arrives into you and protects you. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here, this is an herbalism. This is food in the tropics. So just want to show you guys some of the things we're dealing with here. Well, let's start with that, Chris.
Look at this. This is growing, all this food is growing on Avo's land here.
So what exactly is that?
That's a soursop or guanabana, and that's actually a very medicinal fruit, no sugar. So if you're trying to get on a low sugar diet or you're on a keto diet, this is a great fruit for you, because one of the things that happens when people get keto and they get super into the keto diet is they lose their senses. It's like, you need fruit to be happy. Like, honestly, come on, like snap out of that program. But sometimes people are like, well, what about the sugar? There's plenty of fruits with no sugar. This is one of them. Look how big that is.
Wow.
This is a beast, massive,
heavy. This thing is dense.
You have another one with no sugar. Here's another fruit with no sugar right here. So all the things that fruits have, right? Like vitamin C, for example, that's noni. And noni has no sugar in it. So that's not going to inflame candida. It's going to kill candida. It's actually going to kill any infections. This is one of the best things to get staph infections ever discovered. And what a great thing for skin problems, psoriasis, eczema, rashes, incredible. Wow. Okay, now if we go over here comes another fruit with no sugar in it. This grew out of a compost pile in the Big Island the other day. Geez, it's so far in here I have trouble getting it out. Okay, here it is. Boom. This is a kabocha pumpkin. Now, if talking to the gals on this island and the other islands, who've been able to maintain like 50-year-old women, 55-year-old women who have like no fat. This is their food right here. Kabocha, pumpkin.
Oh, I'm getting that.
Yep, and this, you basically steam this, so you cut this up and steam it, and the seeds are so resilient in the tropics. They will just grow out of a compost pile and create many more for you. But this is the food that they eat. So if I go to like the local juice bar here, which we were doing this week, because we were on this, we're prepping for the fast, and I'm getting a soup, it's made out of this. What a soup, and what antioxidants. Okay, so a couple other things I want to show you guys here is that this is what we call, you guys are into cacao, so this is the cacao fruit. This is the fruit that all chocolate is made out of. The seeds that are inside here is the food that all chocolate is made out of. This one's ready to go downstairs, Wolfina, for processing. And this is the jaguar cacao. So take a look at that one. Look at the skin on that. Look at this. Look at this.
Amazing.
Now, the jaguar cacao or macambo is something that you'll be hearing more about. Very well known and loved in the Amazon, but in these parts, it's just kind of a new thing. Like I just started seeing macambo showing up here about 10 years ago, and so we're sprouting up a whole bunch, and we're getting with the D program by consuming this superfruit from the Amazon, which is really a type of chocolate. It's a theobroma. This is theobroma bicolor, or the jaguar cacao or macambo.
Wow.
Wow.
Cacao there.
Here's another. Wow, look at this one.
Look at the color on that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Amazing. What's that?
Now this is another type of cacao.
Whoa.
This is otherwise known as kupuasu. And kupuasu is consumed primarily for the juice and flesh on the inside. So the seed of this is not really eaten. But these are the three big ones in the chocolate world. You got theobroma cacao right there. Yeah, you hold that one up. So that's the big one. And then you got kupuasu, and then you got the jaguar cacao. So these three are the big hitters. Like these are the ones you want on your farm. That's why we grow them here. So putting those all together, you can make some epic hot chocolates, like the best ever. I think you guys had some.
Yeah, we had some. Yeah.
Okay, that's durian. Let's do one more little. This is durian, right? So you can see that spiny fruit right there. There's a little piece right there. Bam. So Wolfina, that's for you. And then egg fruit. We didn't do the egg fruit, but it's okay. There's egg fruit right there. That's here, Wolfina. Hold on, let me see that egg fruit.
Yeah, those egg fruit, we're out there harvesting, going through, pulling vines off the trees because the vines strangle the trees. It's seriously a jungle here. It's no joke.
Yeah, no joke.
And some of these egg fruit were on the ground, and the insects had started to eat them, and then we broke off the pieces where the insects were starting to eat them, and oh my gosh, it's just so amazing. But look at these avocados. This is growing on his land.
Yeah, look at this. Like this
at,
is something that amazes everybody. This is just cut and at room temperature and has been cut like that for days. So why isn't it turning black? The reason why is because it lacks the enzyme that oxidizes it. It's protected. Look at that avocado.
Look at the size of that thing.
It's like a bomb.
It's about the size of my skull.
Yeah.
When you put all this together, what we're showing you is like, this is what food is, right? But food is not everything. Food is a piece of the overall puzzle. The other part of the puzzle is herbalism. And so to simplify that down to one statement, it's basically the herbs that are growing around this farm right here, for example, or around you right now, are protected from the predators by alkaloids that they produce. Those alkaloids, when you ingest them, protect you. That's the best way to describe it. And if you don't have that protection, which most people don't, then Big Pharma is going to create some white little pill that they extracted from some plant somewhere or an analog of some plant alkaloid, and they're going to give you a white pill, and they're going to say, oh, here's your medicine. Now, what do you think's better, the medicine that Mother Nature has produced out here or that came from some giant corrupt corporation that gave you a little white pill? Which one would you prefer?
Hashtag.
Obvious.
I want to go with nature. Yeah. One of the things, going back to, so we have a saying in Chinese nutrition, and this reminds me, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the animated cartoon Finding Nemo, and the sharks are going through like an AA program. Their statement is, fish are friends, not food. So it kind of reminds me that food is not just food, it's medicine. It's medicine. It's not just food. And a lot of times we get caught up in looking at food as just food.
Food, right.
But having the intention, I know when I make my egg whites, because I cook eggs every morning, when I make egg whites and make a little wrap, the intention of the herbs that I put in there, and depending on what's going on with me internally, is what I put in there because I have an intentional idea behind my cooking.
What herbs are you putting in there? I'm guessing olena, which is turmeric over here. So Hawaiian is the Hawaiian name for turmeric is olena, which was a canoe plant for the Hawaiians, meaning they revered it so much that they brought it to all the Polynesian islands. What else?
Yeah, so I put the turmeric. I put a little bit of Celtic salt, which is different than the regular salt. A little bit of black pepper, but I do put a lot of the cayenne pepper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cayenne pepper. And then whenever I cook, I'm using ghee. I use ghee, and then normally will saute, then for example, like a little bit of spinach, some green onions. So whatever is going on, also, like I said, internally for me is then what I'll put in there. And then if I know that, hey, I need a little bit more of this, then I'll add a little bit more of whatever in order to balance things out for myself.
So you see right there that you're building in your herbalism right in there. So you add in the herbalism to your food, and then what we do is we add the tea on top of that, right? So there's always a tea going with all the things in it, which just, maybe you want to get a crock pot, or it depends on what kind of situation you're living in. Like if I'm at my Canada place, we're always running the wood burning stove, so we're just making the tea right there on the wood burning stove. We don't have a crock pot. But a crock pot's a good way to go because that way you can keep that hot tea going 24/7. Like this crock pot's been running for 2.5, 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
So you have a health and rejuvenation
Yes,
conference
let's talk about the
coming up.
Okay,
Can you
so
guys talk a little bit about
for everybody out there, I'm David Avocado Wolfe. This is Chris Shelton, and we're having the best day ever here in Hawaii. And we are basically, I'm working my way, and so is Chris and Parissa and Wolfie and everybody. We're all working our way to Florida. And on March 27, 28, 29, we're doing an event outside of Orlando, Florida, which is our Health and Rejuvenation Conference. It will sell out. We're getting down to probably the last 60 tickets. We're kind of in that range right now. And it's going to be the best event of the year. And if you look at any of these big events that are going on right now, the biohacker events, all of them, basically I started all that 30 years ago. I was the original guy who started those things. But we keep it real roots level. It'll be like 300, 350 people. I got to a point with my conferences, it got to thousands of people. That was a little bit too much, and it's just not as fun. So we kind of keep it intimate where you can get really close to what are your health questions? What are the real secrets here? And we will have all of the secrets that will create a health that's beyond danger for you. Mm-hmm. And all you got to do, and we show you step by step, how do you integrate this into your life? And we'll have people like Red Wolf there. Red Wolf is a guy who saw me on TV.
Oh, is that
That's how he saw me on TV selling the NutriBullet. And he's like, I wonder what this guy's about. Now this guy is probably the #1 medicinal mushroom hunter on the eastern seaboard of the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? And lives off wild medicinal mushrooms. He just did 19 days of fasting in August. So, that was his first real long stretch of fasting.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? He just saw, I wonder what this is about. We can show you all the pieces, the steps that can take you all the way there. From the movement technology, the Qigong, the energy technology, the subtle energy technology, all the way to the overt, what are these alkaloids in these medicinal mushrooms, and what do they do, and how do I use them?
That's amazing. And then, Chris, you'll be kicking off, right?
Every morning.
Every morning?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll be kicking off with Qigong and getting everybody reset or set up for the day, energized, connected to one another, rooted and grounded. And, when we're talking about doing a water fast, we had talked about with some of the Chi Clubbers, Priest and I just got off a gallbladder cleanse.
Okay.
Which was pretty intense, to see how many gallstones that were released. So it's cleansing and it's connecting, it's purifying. And the other thing too that I was talking about earlier was when you're talking about cleansing, is cleansing your environment. What is your environment like? Is your home life like? What is your relationships like? Cutting off relationships that are unhealthy, setting boundaries. Boundaries, is what we call in Chinese medicine, we call it our Wei Qi, which is this energetic bubble that's around us. It's part of our immune system. And setting healthy boundaries and cutting off those toxic relationships that are one-sided or people that just want to take advantage, that all plays back into your psyche, and this goes back into our gut health. I mean, there's all types of problems that come up as a result of not only what we're eating, what's in our environment, and who do we surround ourselves with. And this has been such an epic 5 days. We've been around family, friends, just having the best time ever. And the cool thing is, like we were talking about at a get-together here a couple nights ago with Sherveen, was that everybody that was at that gathering as some way contributes to the whole of how can we help support somebody's health and well-being.
Yep.
So we all have these different approaches, but it's all connects together. And I think that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you another thing that when you're saying that, I was thinking about Sherveen, and I was like, this guy, you know, built a like $1 billion supplement enterprise.
Billion.
And it started because I was his tutor when he was he was like 4 or 5 years old. But by the time he was 11 years old, his parents were like, you have to be with him, David. You got to show him this. You got to have him read books. And so that's when I started with him. That's where it started. We used to juice back then. We were juicing back then. Look what it led to. What could happen for you? You never know what could happen for you. You never know what kind of enterprise you'll build, what kind of impact you'll have, where it will lead you. You can never tell. See these things, like look at Red Wolf. Who would have thought that this guy is watching TV one night, he sees some guy with a NutriBullet. Next thing you know, this guy's like, he's really, I mean, if I'm in the US, I want my medicinal mushrooms from Red Wolf because he's in the North Carolina mountains.
And he's a genius about it.
He's a genius about it. It's like, it's the best. You just never know what your destiny holds for you. And so don't sell yourself short. You never know. You know, who was the guy? Colonel Sanders, the KFC guy. He was dead broke at the age of 60. 60.
Wow.
Yeah, he was basically still driving around trying to sell his chicken recipe at the age of 60.
Wow.
No place to live. And he built a multi-billion-dollar enterprise in his 60s.
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
You know, not that we'd want to do KFC, but you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Like,
Yeah,
the opportunity's there. It's never too late.
You
It's
can
the principles
always
behind
reinvent, And I see some of the cheat coders that's going to be in Florida. I see Season's going to be joining us.
Yay.
Marcelo and
Catherine's
our
gonna be
other
there.
favorite. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Floridians. There she is, cuties. All right.
Okay.
Can
Yes.
we do some Qigong, or do you have some more things to say?
No, I think
Yep.
that this wraps it up. You know, as far as the discussion goes. But again, you know, what I'm so grateful to be able to chill with you this last week. You know, we seriously being here on Noni land and just the vibe of the jungle. And you know, meanwhile, Priest's at the beach with everybody else on the private beach. You know, she's on the private beach with everybody, and here we are whacking it. You know, with the machetes and stuff like that.
I had this guy swinging the machete, chopping small trees down. I mean, we were getting after it,
Yeah, it was a little
hardcore.
too manly for my my vibe.
Yeah, but just connecting with the earth like that is so great.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's the best day ever.
It's the best day ever, for sure.
All right, so let's do
Okay,
some
let's do it.
Qigong.
Okay.
All right, how do we feel? Yeah.
All right, grab your chair. We'll do a little quick debrief.
Oh, wow.
All right, how was
Wow.
it, brother?
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh my gosh.
This is the
What a
best
great-
day ever.
Best ever.
Best
What a
ever.
great way to start the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what I say is that Qigong is such a simple practice with profound results, and it's so easy. You know, you can even do those movements from a seated position. That's the cool thing. You don't have to stand. So if you get too tired, you can sit down. But you know, you look at how you feel afterwards. And a lot of times when I'm a keynote speaker and I give talks on disease prevention, I ask the audience to take an inventory of where they're at on a scale of 1 to 10 before the practice, and then where they're at after. And just, you know what, we did about 20 minutes there.
Yep.
And just the transformation that happens.
It's amazing. It's like you're ready for the day.
Health and Rejuvenation Conference that you're hosting. This is a great opportunity to connect with like-minded people. And Marcelo and Catherine are going to be there. Marcelo has the Vore, Catherine has her good juju and her peptides. I'm telling you, it's a great event.
It'll be a great event. If you want to track it down, I think probably the best way is just go to davidwolfe.com, WOLFE.com, or click into my bios on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll see the links to get there. It's going to be, you know, it's a one of a kind. It's like the last time we did this was a year and a half ago.
Wow, already.
Laguna, right?
No,
Laguna,
it's been
right?
2
2
years.
years.
Wow.
2
Laguna,
years.
Laguna,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's one you want to catch.
It's the one you want to catch. And so thank you so much. Preston and I will be there for the best time ever.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, have the best day ever. Aloha and mahalo from Noni Land. And I want to thank my good friend here, David Avocado Wolfe.
Thank you, guys.
And
And
Best
that
ever.
says, bye. Good to see you.
awesome,
All right,
brother.
cool, dude.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah.